Welcome to The Deep Dive. We're the show that takes complex reports, digs through them, and pulls out the key insights and, honestly, some surprising facts for you.
That's the plan.
Today, we're jumping into something absolutely fundamental to, well, pretty much everything digital, the global cloud storage market.
Right. It's that invisible infrastructure that powers so much.
Exactly. It's the silent workhorse. And the way it's growing, it's pretty remarkable. Our job today is basically to slice through all the dense data and give you the shortcut to understanding what's going on. We'll pull out the most important stuff from the research we've got.
And it is critical stuff. Cloud storage isn't just, a nice to have anymore. It's really a core pillar of the whole digital economy. Think streaming, enterprise ops, everything.
Totally.
And our source for today's deep dive is a really comprehensive report from Cognitive Market Research. They've done a fantastic job mapping out the trends, the numbers. It's quite detailed.
Okay, let's get straight to those big numbers then, because they really do grab you.
Yeah.
So globally, the market was valued at just over $70 billion back in 2021.
70.395 billion to be precise.
Right, but check this out. By 2025, just next year, it's expected to jump to over $153 billion, so more than double.
Mm-hmm.
And then looking further out, by 2033, it's projected to hit, get this, $725.598 billion. Just wow.
It's an incredible trajectory.
And that works out to a compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of 21.459%. For anyone maybe less familiar, CAGR is like the average yearly growth rate smoothed out over that whole period.
Yeah.
So what on earth is pushing that kind of growth, that level of expansion, year after year?
Well, it really boils down to a few major global shifts that we're all kind of experiencing.
Okay.
First off, just the explosion of data. We're creating unbelievable amounts of it constantly. Social media, IoT devices, research, it all needs to be stored somewhere.
Right, everything generates data now.
Exactly. Then there's the rising demand for cloud-native applications. These are apps built specifically for the cloud, so they naturally need that flexible, scalable cloud storage backing them up.
Makes sense.
And the third big one is digital transformation. Pretty much every company, big or small, across the globe is rethinking its operations, moving more towards cloud technologies for agility, efficiency.
So it's businesses and personal use driving it.
Absolutely. Whether you're backing up your phone photos or you're collaborating on work docs or your smart thermostat is sending data, you're part of this huge expanding system.
That really puts the scale into perspective. But okay, those global numbers are huge. But you mentioned the story gets really interesting when you slice it by region, right?
Yeah.
Where are we seeing the most sort of dynamic growth?
Yeah, the report is super clear on this. Asia Pacific is, without a doubt, the fastest growing region. It's got the highest regional CAGR, 22.46%.
22.46%. Wow.
Yeah. So think about it. APAC was about $18.5 billion in 2021, the projection. Over $211 billion by 2033. It's just a massive leap.
That's incredible. So within APAC, which countries are really, pushing that acceleration?
Well, China's obviously a huge part of that. It's expected to grow from around $5 billion in 2021 to nearly $62 billion by 2033. Huge numbers.
Okay.
But the really fascinating story within APAC, I think, is India.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's showing absolutely exceptional growth. The report projects India will actually lead the region in terms of growth rate with a CAGR of 23.618%.
Higher than the regional average.
Exactly. So it's jumping from about $2.2 billion in 2021 to almost $28 billion by 2033. It suggests this really rapid digital shift, maybe driven by, its huge mobile-first population, government digital pushes, maybe even leapfrogging some older tech adoption curves.
Interesting. So it's not just volume, it's the pace.
Precisely. And of course, you've got other major players, too. Japan, South Korea, Australia, they're all looking at markets in the tens of billions by 2033. Plus, strong growth from places like Singapore. Actually, Singapore's CAGR is notably high, too, around 22.7%, Southeast Asia as a block, Taiwan. All showing really strong CAGRs, mostly in that 21-22% range.
Okay, so APAC is clearly on fire. But what about the, let's say, more established markets? North America has always been a tech powerhouse. How's the cloud storage picture there? Let's unpack that.
Right. North America is definitely still maybe the stronghold for enterprise cloud infrastructure. So its market grew from about $28 billion in 2021. It's projected past $60 billion by 2025. And looking out to 2033, it's expected to hit around $277 billion. Still a massive number with a very solid CAGR of nearly 21%.
Still growing fast then, even from a large base.
Absolutely. And no surprise, the U.S. dominates the region. It's expected to make up something like $223 $33 billion of that 2033 total. But it's not just the U.S. Canada is showing really strong growth, too, heading towards $35.5 billion by 2033 with a TGR over 21.7%. And Mexico as well, looking at over $18 billion by 2033, again with a solid TGR above 21%.
Okay, solid growth across North America. What about Europe? Is it keeping pace? What's trajectory look like?
Europe's definitely in the mix, showing significant expansion as well. It started around $14 billion in 2021, and the forecast puts it over $137 billion by 2033. Its CGR is right there with North America, actually, 20.908%.
Very consistent growth rates across the developed world then.
Pretty much, yeah. Key countries there. The UK is projected to go from nearly $2 billion to almost $20 billion. Germany's a big one, nearly $3 billion, growing to over $30 billion by 2033.
Okay.
France and Italy are also significant contributors, both expected to cross the $12 billion mark, with France maybe hitting over $16 billion. And again, it's pretty widespread. Russia, Spain, the Nordics like Sweden and Denmark, Switzerland, Luxembourg, they're all part of this consistent growth story across the continent.
So we've hit the big three: APAC, North America, Europe. But the report makes it clear this isn't just limited to those areas, right? The growth seems to be genuinely global.
It's truly pervasive. Take South America, for example. Projected to grow from about $4.4 billion in 21 to over $46 billion by 2033. That's a CAGR of nearly 21.8%.
Right up there.
Yeah. And you see strong growth across the board there. Brazil heading towards $18 billion, Argentina towards $9 billion, Colombia over $7 billion, Peru, Chile, the rest of South America, all showing CAGRs in that 21-22% range. It really indicates a big push towards digitalization.
Okay, and the Middle East and Africa?
Similar story, different starting points. The Middle East is expanding fast from about $3.6 billion to nearly $38 billion by 2033, with a CAGR around 21.7%. Saudi Arabia and Turkey are significant markets there, heading towards $9 billion each. And the UAE is actually a standout with particularly high CAGR over 22.5%. Egypt and Qatar are also mentioned as growing.
Interesting about the UAE's rate.
Yeah, likely driven by those big strategic investments in digital infrastructure they've been making. And then Africa, while starting from a smaller base, around $1.5 billion in 2021, is still projected to hit almost $16 billion by 2033.
Still significant growth.
Definitely. A CAGR of about 20.7%. Nigeria and South Africa are the highlighted countries there, both expected to grow substantially, leading a steady digital advancement across the continent.
Okay, so the picture is, well, it's everywhere. This boom isn't confined to one or two hotspots. It's a truly global phenomenon, reshaping how everyone, organizations, individuals, handle data. So let's try and connect the dots here. Beyond just the huge numbers, what does this all mean for us? What are the big takeaways for our daily digital lives that maybe aren't immediately obvious?
Yeah, that's the key question, isn't it? I think what really stands out is that this market isn't just growing fast, it's transforming at this incredible pace on every continent. It really highlights this fundamental global pivot towards a future that's intensely data-driven and interconnected.
Right.
And those drivers, the report points to more data, remote work becoming standard, governments digitizing services, huge company investments in cloud. These aren't abstract trends. These are things touching our lives daily, often kind of invisibly.
How so?
Well, it means the performance, the speed, the reliability of almost every digital service you rely on.
Like banking apps, video calls.
Exactly. Or how your city might manage traffic flow using data, or how scientists collaborate on massive research projects. All of that is fundamentally underpinned by this massive, growing cloud storage infrastructure. It's not just about, storing holiday photos anymore. It's about enabling the next wave of digital interaction, making complex things feel seamless and instant.
And like you said, heading toward $750 billion globally. That scale is just, it's hard to even wrap your head around. It really does redefine the digital landscape.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's a final thought? Maybe a question for our listeners to mull over after hearing all this.
Well, maybe connecting it back to that bigger picture. Given this truly exponential growth and how absolutely foundational cloud storage is becoming, maybe ask yourself, how might our everyday lives, the way we work, how we connect, how we interact with technology, even how we engage with public services, how might all that look fundamentally different when this market actually hits that $700 billion plus mark. It's worth thinking about that invisible scaffolding holding up our digital world and just how much more integrated into it and maybe dependent on it we're likely to become.
That's a really good point to ponder. Excellent food for thought. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into, well, frankly, astonishing world of cloud storage. We definitely encourage everyone listening to keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep learning about this stuff.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really plunging into the global cloud storage market. We want to look at, what's fueling its huge growth, what speed bumps businesses are hitting, and sort of where this is all heading next. Our mission really is to give you a clear path to understanding the core drivers, the hurdles, and the really groundbreaking trends shaping tomorrow's digital economy.
Yeah, and it's great to be here. This deep dive is powered by some really insightful research from cognitive market research.
Right.
So you're going to get a pretty robust understanding of this absolutely crucial landscape.
Okay, awesome. Let's unpack this then. We all know cloud storage is pretty foundational now, right, for today's data-driven world. But what's really driving this current, almost overwhelming surge in adoption?
Well, what's really compelling here is just the sheer speed and volume of data being generated. I mean,
Hmm.
we're talking about massive streams of both structured and unstructured data. It's just pouring in from every single industry. Think about patient records in healthcare, all the transaction data in retail and banking, user interactions in e-commerce. It's nonstop.
And where's it all coming from?
A lot of it's fueled by the proliferation of IoT devices, all those smart sensors constantly streaming data back. Then you've got complex enterprise systems, the explosion of digital platforms. Companies just, well, they simply cannot keep up using traditional infrastructure anymore. They desperately need scalable, reliable, and frankly, cost-efficient solutions. And that's where cloud storage really comes in.
Right. And it's not just about handling the sheer amount of data, is it? It's also how businesses are choosing to manage it strategically. We're seeing this really powerful shift with the growing adoption of hybrid and multi-cloud strategies. It seems like a clear move away from those older traditional on-premises setups. What does that agility really give them?
Oh, that's a critical point. This embrace of hybrid and multi-cloud ecosystems,
Yeah.
you know, blending private and public solutions or maybe even spanning multiple different providers. It isn't just about diversification. It fundamentally allows for vastly improved flexibility and significantly better business continuity, mainly through redundancy. Plus, you get essential data mobility. This means organizations can, say, deploy applications closer to their users on one cloud while maybe storing really sensitive data on a private cloud. Or they can seamlessly fail over workloads between providers. That was incredibly difficult before.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we absolutely can't overlook the profound impact of broader digital transformation. And of course, the remote work culture, especially how influential that's been since the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Feels like cloud storage became less of an option and maybe more of a necessity almost overnight.
Precisely. Yeah, that macro shift connects directly to how cloud storage ensures, real-time secure access to data regardless of where you are physically located. It's essentially the backbone for enabling seamless collaboration among distributed teams, and it helps streamline operations in this new hybrid work era we're in. Just imagine trying to run a global business with everyone working from home, but all your critical files are stuck on some server back in the office. Cloud storage made that immediate access possible and, importantly, secure.
Okay. But every growth story, no matter how exciting it sounds, it comes with its own set of challenges or paradoxes, maybe.
Yeah.
What's the biggest sort of headache or misconception you see businesses grappling with when they think about moving deeper into cloud storage?
That's a good way to put it. Headache. Um, the primary restraint consistently is data security and privacy concerns. It just keeps coming up. Despite really incredible advancements in encryption and security protocols, a lot of businesses, especially those in highly regulated sectors like finance and government, they remain hesitant. And the deeper insight here isn't just about the technical security itself, but kind of how the regulatory frameworks, which were often designed for on-premise realities, haven't quite kept pace. This creates a bit of a compliance quagmire. It makes businesses wary of potential breaches, this perceived loss of control, and just the complexities of navigating all the different regional regulations.
Right, the red tape. And it's not just that fear of the unknown, is it? There are also very real financial roadblocks. We hear about high initial migration and integration costs. And while we know cloud storage can save money in the long run, those upfront expenses can definitely be a deterrent. Are we just talking about the sticker price, the dollar amount, or is there like a hidden cost too, maybe in the disruption?
That's a critical question. And no, it's absolutely not just the direct fees. The costs involved in migrating massive amounts of data, the intensive training staff need for new systems, and the often complex integration of cloud solutions with existing legacy systems. They're significant. But you're right, the hidden cost is often that disruption, the potential downtime during migration, maybe a temporary dip in productivity, and the resources you have to divert from core business activities. This is particularly challenging for, say, small and mid-sized businesses where budget constraints and resource availability are often much tighter.
Okay. And finally, let's touch on internet dependency and latency issues. How does connectivity, or sometimes the lack of it, fundamentally affect cloud adoption, especially when you think about global reach?
Well, cloud storage, just by its very nature, relies heavily on consistent high-speed internet. That's just how it works. So this becomes a significant barrier in many rural or underdeveloped regions. Poor connectivity there means painfully slow upload times, unreliable access, and ultimately this limits broader adoption, regardless of how robust the cloud solution itself might be. I mean, if your data can't reliably get to or from the cloud, the benefits are kind of moot, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Still, even with these hurdles, the market is just buzzing with groundbreaking trends, things that are fundamentally reshaping how cloud storage even works. And here's where it gets really interesting. Maybe some of these challenges we just talked about are actually fueling these innovations.
Indeed. I think that's often the case. One major trend we're seeing is the deep integration of artificial intelligence and machine learning. Cloud providers are now embedding AI and ML tools directly into their platforms. And this isn't just about efficiency. It's really about shifting from reactive data management to something more predictive, almost self-optimizing systems. AI helps optimize storage allocation. It significantly improves system performance by predicting needs. It automates data tiering, putting data in the most cost-effective place automatically. And it even bolsters real-time cybersecurity by detecting suspicious activity before it becomes a major breach. It's really about smarter, more secure, and just incredibly efficient data management. Yeah.
That's truly fascinating. So the cloud itself is getting smarter, not just acting as a big digital storage locker.
Okay.
And moving to another exciting development, we're seeing major growth in edge computing and also decentralized storage. What are the implications of processing data closer to its source or even in a totally distributed way? Is it just about reducing latency?
Well, reducing latency is a big part of it, sure. As IoT devices just proliferate everywhere and real-time data processing becomes critical, think about autonomous vehicles or maybe smart factory sensors. Storing and processing data at the edge, meaning closer to the source, has become almost a necessity. This not only reduces that latency, but it also dramatically improves efficiency, enhances control, and can even reduce bandwidth costs because you process locally before sending only relevant data up to the cloud. And then, sort of parallel to this, blockchain-powered decentralized storage is gaining significant attention too. It offers a real alternative to the big centralized systems. It's distributed, inherently secure through, cryptographic proofs, and it's user-governed, which actually addresses some of those control concerns we mentioned earlier.
Interesting. Different ways to tackle those core issues. And the final trend feels incredibly important, especially today: sustainability. How is the cloud storage industry, which, let's face it, uses enormous amounts of energy, really responding to this call for greener solutions?
Well, it's rapidly becoming a top priority.
Yeah.
And for many organizations, it's actually a strategic imperative now. Green cloud storage is really at the forefront. Providers are investing heavily in energy-efficient data centers. They're transitioning to renewable energy sources like solar and wind where possible, and developing low-emission hardware. And critically, organizations themselves are increasingly choosing cloud partners that directly align with their environmental, social, and governance goals, their ESG goals. This isn't just, good PR anymore. It's becoming a real competitive differentiator and a core part of responsible business growth.
Wow. So, as you can hear, whether it's AI-powered automation making things smarter, or decentralized architecture providing new, more distributed options, or this environmentally conscious innovation leading the way, the cloud storage market isn't just growing, it's profoundly evolving, like right before our eyes. It feels like a fundamental shift in how we manage and interact with information.
Absolutely. And this raises, I think, an important question for you, the listener. As data continues to just explode and these storage technologies keep maturing, How do you see these evolving trends shaping not just businesses, but maybe our daily digital lives in the coming years? What new possibilities or perhaps even new challenges might emerge for you personally from all this?
That's a great question to ponder. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive today. We hope you'll continue to mull over how this essential technology is becoming not just the backbone of enterprise, but really an invisible, increasingly intelligent force shaping our shared digital future.